I'm just so confused by it all. I don't get it. I mean, this week you got Jerome Powell basically saying that, we're hanging with these rates. We admit inflation is taking a while to come down, longer than we anticipated. But the markets are like, screw it, man. Let's hit another record high. Why not? So I had to bring on our good friend Charlie Gasparino, Fox Business Network, to make sense of it all. Charlie, what am I missing? Why is this happening? How are the markets reacting the way they are?
Just before we get going here, I just want to have some breaking news. Charlie Gasparino is not in the full list of celebrities exposed in the Ashley Madison hack.
Oh, good.
On the cheating date website, thank God.
I was getting worried. I was gonna bring that up on the back end, but I'm glad you did it right out of the gates.
All right. Well, now that we got that out of the way, so what's going on in the markets? I mean, I think the markets, I mean, listen, this is in some ways an irrationally exuberant market. There's still tons of money in the system that the Fed, put in this economy, and the Biden administration did. We still have high inflation because of that. So the markets are of a mind that, this is the end of that inflation, though, even though it's high, is coming down. Remember, we had a little better print yesterday on the PPI, right? I mean, that was yesterday. So they're taking everything in an irrationally exuberant manner. I think, I think he's listen. I've written in the past that he wants to cut by June. Okay, there's no doubt he wants to cut. Now, whether he will cut or not is up in the air, and I think he probably won't, because 3.2 is not 2. Right? His inflation target is 2. The PPI is 3.2. It's a little lower. It's going in, I guess you could say, the right direction, but it's still abnormally high. And, and here's the problem that he's got. If this didn't really matter, if like, let's just say wages were keeping up with the inflation rate, Joe Biden would be a lock for president. Okay? And he's not. And we know he's not a lock for the primary reason that he's looking to debate Trump now. There's no reason why Joe Biden has to debate Trump unless he's way behind. And one of the reasons why he's way behind, and particularly underperforming with blacks and Hispanics, who are generally working class people, right? These are large numbers of blacks and Hispanics are working class, is that inflation is a pernicious tax, a regressive tax on the working class. So not only are you losing the white working class, now you're losing the black and the Hispanic working class because of inflation, and it's not good. And so so Jerome Powell knows that. He knows that inflation is really not coming down in enough that he can cut rates. So I think the markets are being irrationally exuberant. He wants to cut, and I don't think he can.
No, I don't see how he does it.
What do I know?
Well, but here's the thing.
He sees something in the numbers that we don't. I mean, listen, I'm not sitting here with the Fed numbers, like all the stuff that he's got, right? I mean, he's got some good data that I don't have. And by the way, but none of this, let's face it, none of this is a direct science. It's an art, right? You got to look at the numbers. You got to make a bet. Fed makes bets all the time. But still, I still don't see how you cut rates with CPI and PPI in the 3s.
No, it doesn't make any sense. But what I don't get, the markets, had a great close to 23 and great start to 24. And what I understood is that they were baking in expected rate cuts. And now we basically know that's unlikely to happen. But the markets keep reacting positively. Is it just because of the individual Magnificent Seven and how they're doing? Or is it, like you're saying, just exuberant optimism that's happening from buyers across the board?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, listen, there is a lot of money in the system still. We should also point out that corporate profits aren't getting crushed, right? It may come down below expectations, but we don't have if you look at corporate profits, which are the mother's milk of the stock market, they're not exactly like imploding, right? They're quite the opposite. Companies are very quick to cut staff and to do stuff, to satisfy shareholders these days, and they've been doing that. So the markets get that's a positive headwind for the markets. And if you think if you throw that in the fact that the Fed is if you believe or if you're mixed opinion that the Fed might still cut by September, 'cause that's the number that people throw around now. That's positive for the markets. And these are all bets, right? Right? I mean, everybody's betting here.
Yeah.
I don't know how you cut with 3.2% inflation. Just don't get it. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense to me.
Charlie Gasparino, Fox Business Network, is on KCMO. Speaking of betting, meme stocks are back in the mix. I know you've been all over this. AMC, GameStop. It was 3 years ago when the whole GameStop craze happened. Why are these meme stocks getting attention once again? Why are they going to the moon? Explain to those of us like we're in a third grade class what is happening here over the last bunch of days.
Well, we should point out that AMC is down today almost 10% again.
Wow.
So it's starting to reflect unrational exuberance, or whatever you want to call it. That's AMC. GME, GameStop, is down 15%. Still, wicked rally. Listen, this is what happened, and it just shows you just how dysfunctional the markets are, particularly on these weird stocks, these cultish stocks. So they're a guy named Roaring Kitty. Remember him? He was the guy that made the movie over.
Yes.
He hasn't tweeted in years. He was the guy that led the meme stock movement. And meme stocks were all these beaten down stocks that Wall Street hated, that people flush with stimmy checks. Remember, this is what happened in 2020. Fed cutting rates, printing money, borrowing was easy, went in and bought in mass to drive up the price and kept them high. Back then, you could keep them high despite the fact that these companies weren't making any money, or they were losing money, or not making significant money, or way overvalued. Wall Street bet against all these things, and that put one hedge fund out of business. So there's an overhang. There's a hangover from that you see. So Keith Gill comes back for the first time in 2 years and tweets something stupid on a guy rocking in a chair, and everybody takes that as a symbol to buy GameStop. Not everybody, just the mean crowd that's left. Buy GameStop and buy AMC and a few others. Now, they ran up the price. All true. Here's the difference now between that, if you're thinking of getting involved in this gambling, momentum investing gambling, because that's what this is, momentum investing, not based on any fundamentals, because the fundamentals of these companies suck, all right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do that, remember, things are different today than 2021. We have just talked about how the Fed has rates being high. They're not cutting rates anymore, right? They may even raise them again, right?
Mm-hmm.
If inflation is going up. Remember what was going on in 2021. The Fed was printing massive amounts of money, was keeping rates at zero, printing money on the long end, meaning it was expanding its balance sheet, buying Treasury securities in the markets, which has the impact of taking down long interest rates and fusing the markets with cash. They're doing just the opposite now. Okay, so remember that. That's a different monetary environment. Fiscal policy environment, different now. They're not giving people stimmy checks anymore, unless you consider student loan forgiveness stimmy checks. They're not doing that, so people don't have money to gamble in the markets. We're not in lockdown mode anymore. Remember, people had nothing better to do when they go on their Robinhood account. And on top of it all, you could see that this is not the same phenomenon based on the volume of money going into these stocks. It's 1/3 of what went in, even less than that maybe, what went into it in 2021. So remember, this is probably a short-lived phenomenon. Be really careful. If you bought at the top here, you're getting crushed, by the way, the last couple of days.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Last thing, Charlie, I know you talk to many people in the know on the financial side, the business side, but also a lot of these folks have strong political interests as well. Yesterday's big news with Joe Biden, challenging Donald Trump to a debate and Trump accepting. How surprised are the people that you talk to, a lot of, people who have a lot of money in politics, by this development, and what does it mean?
Well, in some ways they are surprised because they thought because the betting was that he'd sit it out. But and I think in some ways they're not. And the reason why is because he's behind, and it's obvious that he's behind. And listen, Joe Biden could so easily say, I'm not debating Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can get away with it. The guy broke the law. He's in jail. I mean, he might be going to jail. He can rationalize it. He didn't debate his primary opponents. He could say, screw you, Donald. Not debating you. Good luck. You're an illegitimate, candidate, president. I mean, he could say that and get away with it. But that's only if you're ahead. And he's behind. And he's flailing at this point. And listen, he still may pull it out. Donald Trump, was his own worst enemy during the last debate. Remember how the first one was disastrous.
Yeah.
He just acted like an idiot and wouldn't let the guy dig himself in a hole. The second debate was better, but still it was way too late at that point for him to turn it around. We'll see what happens this time. I mean, I think what Biden probably is guessing is that Trump will be, the obnoxious jerk he was in the first one and interrupt him. But if Donald plays it right, and by the way, he's been playing it right lately. If you look at his demeanor coming out of court, he's holding these 5-minute press conferences where he sums stuff up and he goes right for the jugular on various issues. If you parse his language, even at these rallies, the rally he had in New Jersey, he made a really good case for why the overturn of Roe versus Wade was the right thing to do. I mean, he actually made a great case for it. This is, a better case, I think, than a lot of seasoned Republican candidates made for it. How some states are going to be liberal on this, some people are going to be more progressive, and that's the way it should be. On abortion and when it's appropriate to have one. I thought he was right on the money. This may be a guy that's finally mellowed at 77.
So maybe you can teach an old dog new tricks, Charlie Gasparino.
If you want to be president, you should.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I mean, better late than never. And as Charlie set the record straight, he was not part of this Ashley Madison controversy that came out yesterday.
But Ashley Madison's a dating site? What exactly is it?
I think it's a place, listen, I as far as I know, it's a place that you go to if you want to date, but, you're, shall we say, in a relationship. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Right. My wife will love
it. Charlie, thanks for the great work on KCMO. We appreciate it as always.
Anytime. Talk to you soon, Pete.
All right. Charlie Gasparino, great stuff on 95.7 FM.